Hare Krishna, a warm welcome to all our viewers in this GBC Strategic Planning session on Srila Prabhupada in My Life, which is hosted by us during this Prabhupada Disappearance Day, where we are actually going to talk about Srila Prabhupada and our journey in relation to how Srila Prabhupada has impacted our life and what Srila Prabhupada means in our lives. And everyone is in some way or another, all devotees are actually influenced, committed by Srila Prabhupada. And my journey actually began when I was searching for a lot of answers, which were just practical questions, which were spiritual questions. And I used to study in a convent, so read the Bible. I was trying to go to different other religious organizations, trying to get answers, trying to read a lot of books, but somehow nothing really answered my questions in a very practical way. Till I was in my college, and one day somebody gifted me the book Perfect Question, Perfect Answers. And that was just the perfect gift that I needed at that point in my life. And that was the first time that I actually bunked a lecture in my college and I read the book, The Perfect Question, Perfect Answers. And that was only the beginning of what was to come, where I eventually explored all of Srila Prabhupada's books, which actually come in a very small format. Then graduated to reading the Science of Self-Realization, the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the books not only answered a lot of questions that I had in life, but it also answered so many questions which I didn't even know existed, which were the deep realities of existence and beyond. And that is when I could just completely understand the depth of Srila Prabhupada's books and what a wonderful, extraordinary gift we have in terms of these books, which are just so practical. Prabhupada has written them in such a simple, he's actually condensed the whole Vedas, the whole scriptures in such a simplified way, which is so practical, easy to understand. Keeping the purity intact, and at the same time it's so inspiring. And it was at that time in my college when I just felt so inspired reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and I just had that inner calling, that wanting to commit myself to Srila Prabhupada. And just a few months after that, I got this opportunity where somebody invited me, a devotee actually invited me to serve in Srila Prabhupada's Centennial Office. So this was in 1995, where ISKCON was getting ready to celebrate Srila Prabhupada's Centennial in 1996. And we had different offices. We had the main head office in Delhi, we had another office here in Mumbai. And I had just applied for my MBA, and there's a time between you actually do your application and your college begins. So this was the time when I actually came to Shri Shri Radharas Bihari Temple, ISKCON Juhu, where the Centennial Office was based, and I just spent my first day at the temple, just basically getting oriented to my service, which was mostly admin related at that point. And when I was leaving, it just came to me that this is exactly what I was looking for. This is coming to a point of realization of my soul searching, and this is really what I want to do. And somehow that's just when I just made that decision that the slogan for the Centennial was Na Bhuto Na Bhavishyo. It has never happened in the past, and it will never happen in the future. And that's when I decided that I want to do this. This is my calling, this is a place I belong, and this is the person that I want to surrender to, and this is the person that I want to give my life for. And I just decided that I'm going to give my MBA a miss, and which I did. And there have been no regrets ever. I have never looked back and ever felt that, oh, I wish I had done that, because I just gained so much happiness and so much satisfaction in serving at the temple, and especially Prabhupada's centennial year, which was 95-96. and I actually first started my service as with basic admin services, and eventually got appointed by His Holiness Mukund Maharaj in ISKCON Communications. And I had not met Maharaj. This was like at distance where he was traveling, and he just appointed me to help with the communication service. And the reason being that we were going to do a lot of events in relation to Prabhupada's centennial, as in we had the World Holy Name Day, the Feed the World Day, Prabhupada Appearance Day. We had huge pandal programs, we had huge programs in the temple, in schools, feeding prasadam, and a lot of different things which were lined up. And the seva which was offered to me is that I had to coordinate the communications, and I was just 22 with absolutely no experience, definitely no spiritual qualification at all, but not even any academic qualification or experience in communications. And I was feeling extremely nervous when I was requested that you have to go and meet the media, you have to give them the press releases, and you have to ensure that all what we're doing for Prabhupada's centennial actually is printed in the newspapers. And it just made me feel so extremely nervous. And I actually had a sleepless night. I didn't know what to do. And the morning that I had to go and meet the press is when I almost had a meltdown. And I just came from my office right here, which is close by where we have Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasana. And I just put my head at Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasana, and I said, this is your centennial. I cannot understand how this is going to happen. I don't know what to do. In fact, I didn't even know what is a media release. How do you write a media release? And somehow I just had put something together, just written up something, and just took some prasad, and just took Srila Prabhupada's blessings, and I just went to the different media houses in Mumbai, like Times of India, the Indian Express, and all the India Today. And at that point, everyone was, when I went there, I saw that people were like so professional, and they were just so together in their work and the way they were presenting, and I just felt like so completely out of place in that situation, just as a young girl in early 20s trying to convince. And usually you approach the city reporter, and because I didn't know, I straight went into the editor's office. I just gave him some prasad. I said, this is our founder, we're doing some events in relation to him, and it would be happy that if you cover it. And of course he was shocked. And so he just put it down, and he said, we'll see about it. And I came back, and the next day was a big surprise that most of the newspapers carried this news. And it still amazes me that it definitely was not coming from a place of knowledge, qualification, or anything like that. And that is when I learned my first big lesson in my spiritual life, that what I am made up of is just the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And even till today, whenever we have any campaigns, whenever we have any crisis-related communication situation, I just come to the Vyasasana, I just come near Prabhupada, and I say, Prabhupada, I don't know how this is going to happen. Please guide, please inspire, and please give the spiritual strength to make this happen. And this is I feel my strength in relation to being connected to Srila Prabhupada, that if I can do anything, it is only because of the mercy that comes from the Acharya, who actually has nothing but the only desire to want to spread the glories of the Lord. And even after receiving all that inspiration, when I went out after a few years and spent more few years in Krishna Consciousness, I got this another beautiful realization about the presence of Srila Prabhupada in my life by whenever I was traveling to US, UK, or even in India, there was always a temple in the city that I was going to. and that was such a sense of that just brought such a sense of belonging and such a sense of shelter. And truly I could understand that Srila Prabhupada has built a house in which the whole world can live, that I have a family everywhere. I can be traveling. It's nothing to do with the race, the caste, the creed. We all are bound by each other. All the devotees who have been committed to Srila Prabhupada's movement, we are just completely bound by our love and our commitment to Srila Prabhupada. And what to speak of being in the temple here. I mean, this was, when I was out, I definitely felt that presence when I would see it in different devotees, that they had so much love in their heart for Srila Prabhupada, and they were ready to undertake any kind of difficulties and any kind of services, which brought so much more commitment and so much more inspiration in my heart. It reinforced my commitment to Srila Prabhupada. And when I would come back to the temple here, which is ISKCON Juhu, and where Srila Prabhupada worked tirelessly. I mean, this was Srila Prabhupada's, Sri Srila Ras Bihari was Srila Prabhupada's favorite deities, and everyone's aware that what it took for Srila Prabhupada to actually build this beautiful temple. And as when I sit in here, even right now, it always feels that this beautiful temple, the marble, Prabhupada was always very insisting, and Prabhupada specifically mentioned at ISKCON Juhu that he wanted this to be a white marble temple because he wanted to attract the Westerners. And when we just sit there every day morning, during the morning program, during the lectures or anything, we actually realize that this is not just marble, but this is actually the blood, sweat and tears of Srila Prabhupada. That wherever Srila Prabhupada went, he was always thinking of his commitment of building a temple for Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari. And that has been such a deep influence in my life, because Prabhupada's vision, Prabhupada always thought big. He always wanted to do grand, big things, and at a place where there was a swamp, Srila Prabhupada could envision a beautiful temple for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada just had that purity. Srila Prabhupada had that dedication. He had that commitment. And it's so much being in this place, it naturally embeds in your consciousness, where in my service I feel that I would be falling short if I did not keep my goals and visions for Srila Prabhupada and for Krishna big, if I was not sincere enough in my commitment. And it just gave me so much of spiritual strength, that having an example, having an acharya who himself personally underwent such severe hardships and difficulties, which made us understand that yes, there are practical problems, it's not going to be easy in this material world, and it's going to be tough from all sides. Prabhupada faced difficulties not just from the external sources, as in the different people who are not wanting to have a temple here, but sometimes even his own disciples could not understand, or at that point, because they were so young and they were so fresh and raw, they could not see what Prabhupada could see. But Prabhupada just stayed so determined, and that has been such a big source of inspiration for me in my projects, that whenever there is any difficulty and whenever it feels like a moment of that, I'm just breaking up, we are cracking, we won't be able to make it, I just come and just sit here in the temple hall and just see this beautiful white marble temple. Just come to Srila Prabhupada's deities, and it just invigorates me, it just enlivens me, and it helps me to remember that with prayers, with dedication, and with the blessings of the Acharya, nothing is impossible. Srila Prabhupada took strength from his spiritual master, and he built so many temples across the world. He left the legacy through his books, through his disciples, through his temples, the festivals, the the whole program of connecting people through prasad, through the philosophy, and that's what so much brings inspiration and strength to me. And also when I see that there are not hundreds, thousands, but millions of people who actually visit the temple, and this is what Srila Prabhupada saw when nobody could see that. And so many souls, like as in millions of souls, take shelter of not only this, but so many other temples in ISKCON. And it actually enlivens me. It just makes me, even at times when it's difficult, especially in a materialistic city like Mumbai, where people are so heavily under the modes of nature, and we just actually have people coming from all walks of life, as in we have celebrities, we have businessmen, we just have so many times, in fact, we have clubs nearby, and people just come early in the morning for Mangala Aarati. They're all drunk, but they just come, they just start chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, they just pay obeisances to Prabhupada's murti. And it's so amazing that Srila Prabhupada is every minute, every second in some part of the world transforming a life. And that's what really keeps me going in my spiritual life. And it just so much inspires me that I want to assist our Acharya into his mission, to his spiritual master. And when I see all these celebrities, when I see the businessmen come here, and when they see the beautiful place, in fact, just before the COVID, we had one of the actresses, and she came here, and then she just entered the temple. She looked around and she said, "Oh wow, this is just like a spiritual world." And he said, "How come I never came to this place before? This is so beautiful." And that was a little glimpse where I could see that Prabhupada had that vision. Prabhupada knew what he was doing. Prabhupada knew what was needed, and he offered that to us. And it inspires me not to give up in my spiritual life, despite a lot of odds that come in my way. And sometimes, especially, I really miss, as much as there are the books, there's the association, I so much miss not having had the personal, physical, association of Srila Prabhupada, as in his Vapu association, and that just sometimes feels like a deep pain. And those are the times when I just try to take shelter of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, just try to take shelter of his books. And a lot of times when you actually read, when you just open the book, you come across just what you need to know, and you just come across something that Srila Prabhupada actually wants to tell you during that time, and then it just feels that Srila Prabhupada is really not limited to his physical presence. He is always present, and it's just that we have to look for him in different, in our services, in different devotees, in our exchanges, just around us when we are in the temple. And we definitely, Srila Prabhupada will reciprocate with us, and help us to reinforce our dedication to Shri Radha Krishna, and of course to ISKCON. So I am actually very, very grateful to the GBC SPT for running this series on Srila Prabhupada in my life, because it has actually given me an opportunity to sit and reflect. It was such a beautiful meditation for me personally that I would not even want to limit this to Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, but I think this is something that I want to do constantly, as in every month, take a day or two and just sit and reflect on, am I completely in sync with what is the mood of the Acharya, what is my sincerity, and how much Srila Prabhupada is actually a part of my life. So I really want to thank the SPT, and I also want to thank Gopal Bhaja Prabhu. He is the chair, and it was actually he who conceived this idea of having the disciples and the grand disciples of Srila Prabhupada come together and give a little offering and just share their hearts. So I am so grateful for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you so much. And I hope that during this Prabhupada Disappearance Day, you also feel a lot more inspiration and a lot more closer to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.